We begin tonight, Hannity Watch on the extreme radical left. It's really important as we begin, you ask yourself some questions. Do you want the government to have more control over your daily life or less? Do you want the government to take more of your hard-earned money or less? Do you want the government to be more involved in your business or less involved? Do you want the government to have more control or total control of your health care or less? And do you believe the government has a duty to protect your borders from, let's see, heroin, fentanyl traffickers, human traffickers, cartels, gangs, and the criminal element, not the good people that want a better life, that come to our border and access our country illegally? Because now it is perfectly clear. The lines have been drawn. Nearly every single elected Democrat, almost all of those running to challenge President Trump in 2020, they want more and more total control of your life. They don't trust you, the American people. Remember, they think we are irredeemable deplorables, that we cling to our God, our guns, our Bibles, and religion, and we're those smelly Walmart people. Now, they want control of everything. It's actually beyond radical and extreme. It's scary. It's a failed ideology. It's been tried over and over. It creates dependency. They make promises that never come true. It never comes close to what they promise. And even worse, the people that are promising all of this great stuff, keep your doctor care, save money, they really only want power for themselves. Now, Socialist Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and far-left Senator Ed Markey are now set to unveil what they call their so-called Green New Deal legislation. Now, this bill will dictate how you heat your home, cook your meals, and even how you commute to work. In fact, according to previous proposals, Ocasio-Cortez wants this country. By the way, we just became the #1 producer of oil on the planet, surpassing Saudi Arabia and Russia. All fuel and gas, fossil fuels, we will not have them in 10 years. That's not just socialism, that's authoritarianism. And she literally wants to nationalize enormous, profitable private industry, kill it off completely. That means all the millions of high-paying career jobs in the oil and gas and energy sector, guess what? Gone. It will force every American to pay drastically more expensive for all forms of energy, the lifeblood of our economy. But according to Ocasio-Cortez, if the federal government doesn't take dramatic authoritarian action, the world is going to end in 12 years. Well, that only gives us 2 years of our plan. Why bother? Anyway, she actually thinks the future of humanity is at risk because of energy independence. We have more energy. We can help our allies, our friends, create millions of high-paying jobs for Americans. And we've tried your way before. Doesn't work. Take a look.
I do not think that for the future of humanity and for our country to continue to prosper, that we cannot have another presidential cycle where climate change is not being asked about at almost every debate.
Got only 12 years left. Actually, the future of humanity faces far more risks from the authoritarian far-left socialists. Look at Venezuela. Oh, they have a lot of energy, but they don't have any money or food, and poverty is rampant. Let's see, Cuba, they didn't do too well there either. Former Soviet Union, oh, communist China, how's that working out? Look at what life is like in literally any country that nationalizes private industry and imposes strict government controls over private businesses. And that's not stopping Democratic presidential hopefuls like, Elizabeth Warren from declaring that capitalism can be good, but only if the government has more control and only if she and her fellow Democrats have a chance to impose even more rules and regulations. Take a look.
Let's be really clear. Capitalism without rules is theft. Encouraging companies to build their business models on cheating people, that's not capitalism. That's not competition in the marketplace. That's not producing consumer surplus. So what I believe is capitalism with serious rules. And that means rules where everybody gets a chance to play.
Excuse me. A lot of people risk a lot of money to start businesses. No hope necessarily they'll succeed. They create goods and services that people want, need, and desire. And they either buy it or they don't. That has created a standard of living that is the envy of the world, wealth unimaginable in most places on this earth. Now, Warren is proposing, let's talk about stealing, a brand new wealth tax. If you manage to save any money, that's after you pay your federal income taxes, your state income taxes, your Social Security tax, your Medicare tax, sales tax, property tax, in some cases like New York, city income tax, well, then Senator Warren, after you paid all of that and you saved a little bit, she wants to come back again and take more. That would be a government license to steal, Senator. And by the way, then when you die, the federal government wants half of what you saved before you die. You pay to die in America. Isn't that great? And states like New York take 10% of what you have left. And you've got, why are all these people leaving New York, New Jersey, Illinois, California? Hundreds of thousands. It's a mass exodus in these high tax states. But you look at states with low or no income taxes, take Florida and Texas, no state income tax. Nearly 400,000 new residents last year alone. These people are leaving. Just keep your bad politics wherever you came from. Now, of course, the federal government will need vast amounts of money, like look at Kamala Harris's Medicare for All proposal. Study, George Mason University. Okay, that's $3.2 trillion a year for 10 years. Let me give you perspective. The federal budget 2018 was $4.1 trillion, basically the entire budget. Open your wallets. Watch out. Socialists like Kamala are coming. Now, keep in mind, that proposal would literally kick 177 million Americans off their private health care plans and also completely kill off another private industry. If you work for an insurance company, bye-bye. Kamala Harris wants you gone, jobless, out of work, doesn't care. By the way, what happens when Medicare for All fails like Obamacare? Uh-oh. What then? Now, Democrats are trying to sell these big government programs. They are the great, they own compassion. They're the most compassionate. But don't be fooled. A government power grab, plain and simple, this is what it's about. They don't trust you. They therefore want the government to control every aspect of your life. They want to use your money, want to know what it's really about, to buy votes, bribe people to vote for them with your money and get power. So let's recap the modern-day Democratic Party. The authoritarian control of your health care, your businesses, your money, and your personal decisions. President Trump put out a great tweet today. Democrats are becoming the party of late-term abortion, high taxes, open borders, and crime. And speaking of which, we have an update on that disturbing story out of Virginia from last night. A Democratic legislator there named Kathy Tran proposed that bill that would make infanticide legal. Remember, she testified her law would allow a healthy baby's life to be terminated for virtually any reason, even in the 9th month of pregnancy, even when the birth process started. And the Democratic governor, Ralph Northam, supported the bill. Then he took it a step further, saying a baby's life would only be saved, it would be comfortable, it would be there outside the womb, but only saved, resuscitated if the family wanted. And he said the infant would be resuscitated only under those conditions while the baby's alive, viable, living, comfortably. Seriously? After facing serious backlash, well, guess what the great governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia did? He doubled down on stupid and even played the victim card. We'll show you those disgusting comments coming up. Now, thankfully, President Trump is working hard. Doesn't get the credit from the media to preserve core constitutional rights and principles for all Americans, including newly born children, the most innocent among us. Top Democrats are now seething with anger over the president's nomination of originalist justices. Many doubters, remember, to 2016, you were worried. I told you I knew this man for over 2 decades, and he would govern as a conservative. I think I've been proven right, and I told you so. As I warned you, Obama was a rigid, radical ideologue whose policies would fail. They did. And now President Trump is fulfilling those promises. We see the economic numbers. We see more peace around the world. We see him checking off the list of what he said he'd do. And now he's also appointing strong, qualified justices. So let not your heart be troubled. President Trump will keep his commitment. For those of you that doubt, I say it's 99.9% to 0.1%. He's going to get the money for the wall one way or the other. And he announced today he's sending more troops down to the border as thousands and thousands of new migrants in multiple caravans are marching through Mexico right to our southern border yet again. One contains upward of 12,000 people. Now, what if they go to a point in our border where there is no secure wall or entry point? What is the Border Patrol going to do to stop 12,000 people? They decided to rush across at once, no wall to stop them. I've said that wall will protect people, rightly so, on both sides of the wall. It'll have a nice door in it. So, unfortunately, take a little more time. We vet people, make sure they can provide for themselves, because the costs are out of control. And it isn't just the risks associated with migrant caravans. So many instances of life and death. Let's look at the most recent week we have. 2 previously deported sex offenders from Mexico apprehended trying to illegally enter the U.S. at the Del Rio sector in Texas. They were caught. On Monday, Border Patrol agents apprehended a violent MS-13 gang member. Thankfully, that person was caught. Also on Monday, agents arrested a man who was convicted of child molestation in the U.S. along with abducting and kidnapping. Guess what? They got him, too. And just today, U.S. Customs and Border Protection announced the single largest fentanyl bust in history. Our guys at the border, the ones that Kamala Harris said, isn't there a perception that, ICE is like the KKK? Those guys that risk their lives? Well, they captured over 250 pounds of this deadly opioid inside a load of Mexican produce heading to Arizona. Now, just a stark reminder of just how many deadly drugs come across that southern border, destroying American lives, especially fentanyl, which is often used by drug dealers to put into heroin, other addictive substances. Look at the numbers. 2016, fentanyl responsible for 46% of all opioid-related deaths. It's a key reason that more than 42,000 people dying from overdoses involving opioids in 2016. That was an increase of nearly 10,000 over the previous year. In fact, annual fentanyl-related deaths have dramatically increased since 2010, much of this coming from China and then smuggled by the cartels through the southern border. By the way, enough to kill all the residents of Florida, Pennsylvania, Utah, and pick another state. 54 million people. That's how much they got today of fentanyl at our border. Millions of people can be killed, which is why the president is pressing the president of China, and he's getting results. Let's take a look.
One of the things that we discussed in Argentina was fentanyl. This is not a trade deal. This is a fact that President Xi was extremely good when he said that they would criminalize fentanyl because fentanyl is killing a lot of our great American people.
Border security is about stopping these evil cartels, the flow of drugs into the country. In other words, it's about life and death and saving the lives of American citizens. Hundreds dying every week from heroin and fentanyl. It's about stopping human trafficking. It's about protecting people on both sides of that wall with a door and creating a safe, secure system of immigration. We get to vet anyone and everyone coming into the country for our safety and also make sure they are capable of taking care of themselves. Democrats, they only want to play cheap political games rather than address a humanitarian crisis, a life and death and safety and security crisis. Nancy Pelosi said again today that funding for a wall is a non-starter. She offered $1 so far. Take a look.
There's not going to be any wall money in the legislation. All about two things: cost-benefit analysis. What's the best way, and what do you get for your dollar in order to protect the border?
What is Nancy and Chuck and the Democrats standing for anyway? If they really cared about cost-benefit analysis, you'd be in favor of the wall. We've done those numbers, run them many times on this show. So why did Democratic leaders insist on obstructing the president's efforts to keep Americans safe? Why do they insist on derailing negotiations? I thought they cared about DACA, Dreamers, and when Obama was president, they wanted to buy a wall, pay for a wall. Why do they insist now on stopping their rank and file members from coming to real solutions and negotiating in good faith? Only because they're consumed by anti-Trump hatred every second, every minute, every hour of every day. Stop at nothing. Just destroy him. For years, they supported everything President Trump is offering. They didn't mean it, or they hated him more. They hate him more. That puts your community at risk, your friends at risk, your family at risk. Selling out Dreamers, DACA. That's all they seem to care about. All right, we turn to another brand new update from our Hannity Watch on the deep state tonight. It looks like the hate Trump media caught reporting yet another collusion hoax yet again today. Now, remember when nearly every media outlet widely speculating Donald Trump Jr. called his father with a blocked phone number ahead of his 2016 Trump Tower meeting with the Russians when they talked about immigration and adoption? Now, according to reports, fake news, never happened. I just have one question for anyone who works in fake news, CNN. Do you ever get tired of just being wrong and embarrassing yourself so often?